The sound of breaking glass echoed through the marble hallway as Rose collapsed on the cold street, her two babies crying in her arms. Just 10 feet away, a black luxury car slowed to a stop. Behind the tinted window sat the man who had once owned her heart for a single night. The man who had no idea these hungry children were his. How did a poor woman have twins of a rich man, and why did not know about them? But let's go back to where it all began. But before we start, subscribe to my channel. I will count to 3. 1, 2, and 3. 2 years earlier, Rose wiped the sweat from her forehead as she arranged the breakfast table in the grand dining room. The morning sun painted golden streaks across the expensive china, but she barely noticed the beauty around her. She had learned not to admire things that would never belong to someone like her. Little did she know that in just a few hours, her entire world would change forever. "Good morning, Mr. James," she said softly as the tall, dark-haired man entered the room. James Mitchell didn't look up from his phone. At 28, he was already worth billions, and his cold grey eyes showed it. He never smiled. He never said thank you. He simply existed in his world of money and power, treating everyone around him like they were invisible. "Coffee's cold," he said without tasting it. Rose's heart sank. She had made it fresh just 5 minutes ago. "I'll get you a new cup right away, sir." "Don't bother, I'm late for a meeting." He grabbed his coat and headed toward the door, then stopped. "And Rose?" "Next time, pay attention to what you're doing." The door slammed shut, leaving Rose alone with the untouched breakfast. She touched the coffee cup. It was still steaming hot, but she said nothing. She never did. Rose had been working for James for 2 years. She lived in a small apartment above the garage, grateful for the steady job that helped her send money home to her sick mother and younger sister in their village. She had learned to ignore James's harsh words and cold treatment. She had bigger problems to worry about. That afternoon, Rose was dusting the living room when she heard voices getting louder in James's office. "You're being impossible, James." The voice belonged to Victoria, his fiancée. She was beautiful like a magazine cover, with perfect blonde hair and expensive clothes, but her heart was as cold as James's. "I told you I'm busy for the next 3 months, James replied, his voice tight with frustration. "This hotel project in Dubai is worth $500 million. I can't just leave." "Then give me money for a world tour. I'll take Sarah with me. We can go to Paris, London, Italy, everywhere. You can stay here with your precious work." Rose tried to focus on her cleaning, but their voices carried through the house. "We were supposed to travel together," James said. Victoria laughed, but it wasn't a happy sound. "Together? When was the last time you spent a whole day with me?" "You don't care about me, James. You only care about making more money." There was silence for a moment, then James spoke again, his voice tired. "Fine, take the trip. I'll arrange everything. First-class tickets, 5-star hotels, shopping money. Take whatever you need." "Really?" Victoria's voice brightened immediately. "Oh, James, thank you. Sarah and I will have the most amazing time." Rose shook her head sadly. She had seen this pattern before. Victoria always got what she wanted by making James feel guilty, and James always gave in, trying to buy love with money. 2 weeks later, Victoria was gone. Rose watched from the window as the car took her to the airport, expensive suitcases filling the trunk. Victoria had barely said goodbye to James, too busy talking on her phone about all the places she would visit. Rose had no idea that this departure would lead to the most devastating and life-changing night of her existence. For the next few days, James seemed even more distant than usual. He worked late into the night and barely ate the meals Rose prepared. She wanted to ask if he was okay, but she knew better. James didn't talk to maids about personal things. It was on a Thursday evening when everything changed. Rose was washing dishes in the kitchen when she heard James's phone ringing loudly in his office. She couldn't help but notice how desperate it sounded, ring after ring, as if he was trying to reach someone who wouldn't answer. Then she heard something that made her heart break. The sound of a grown man crying. She quietly moved closer to the office door and heard James talking to himself. "Answer the phone, Victoria. Please, just answer." His voice was broken, nothing like the confident billionaire she knew. Rose wanted to walk away, to give him privacy, but something in his voice stopped her. She had never heard James sound so human. The next day, Rose learned the truth from the housekeeping supervisor, Mrs. Kate. "Poor Mr. James," Mrs. Kate whispered as they folded laundry together. "Did you hear what happened?" Rose shook her head. "That woman, Victoria, she's been seen all over Europe with another man. Someone took pictures of them kissing in Paris. She's spending Mr. James's money on another boyfriend." Rose's hands froze on the towel she was folding. That's terrible. And she's not answering his calls. She blocked his number after everything he did for her, all the money he spent. Mrs. Kate shook her head. Men like Mr. James, they have everything except someone who truly loves them. That evening, Rose was walking past the living room when she heard the crash. James was on the floor at the bottom of the marble staircase, an empty whiskey bottle beside him. His expensive suit was wrinkled, his usually perfect hair messy. He was trying to get up, but kept falling back down. Rose rushed to his side. "Mr. James, are you hurt?" He looked up at her with unfocused eyes. "Rose, is that you?" "Yes, sir, let me help you." She put his arm around her shoulders and slowly helped him stand. He was heavier than she expected, and she could smell the alcohol on his breath. "She's gone," he whispered as they climbed the stairs slowly. "Victoria, she's gone. With him. With someone else." Rose's heart ached for him. Despite his cold treatment, she could see the pain in his eyes. "Let's get you to bed, Mr. James." She had no idea that this simple act of kindness would change both their lives forever. His bedroom was huge and elegant, with a bed bigger than Rose's entire apartment. She helped him sit down and brought him a glass of water. "Don't go," he said suddenly, grabbing her hand. "Please, I can't be alone right now." Rose hesitated. She had never seen James like this, vulnerable, broken, human. She sat down in the chair beside his bed. "I loved her," James said, staring at the ceiling. "I gave her everything, money, jewelry, trips. I thought that was how you showed love. But it wasn't enough." "Maybe she wasn't the right person for you," Rose said softly. James turned to look at her. In the dim light, his grey eyes seemed different, warmer somehow. "Do you think anyone could really love someone like me? Someone who only knows how to work and make money? Everyone deserves love, Mr. James. Real love, not the kind you have to buy." They talked for hours. James told her about his lonely childhood, about parents who were never home, about building his business to prove he was worth something. Rose listened, offering quiet words of comfort. As the night grew late, James moved from the chair to sit beside her on the edge of the bed. "You're so different from her," he said. "You're kind, you really listen. Mr. James, maybe you should get some sleep." "James," he interrupted, "just call me James." Rose looked into his eyes and saw something she had never seen before. Not the cold billionaire, but a lonely man who just wanted to be loved. When he leaned closer, she didn't pull away. When he kissed her, she kissed him back. What happened next was gentle and desperate at the same time. Two lonely people finding comfort in each other, even if it was just for one night. Rose woke up as the sun was rising. James was still asleep beside her, his face peaceful for the first time since she had known him. Reality hit her like a cold wave. What had she done? But what Rose didn't know was that this night had created more than just regret. It had created two tiny lives that would turn their world upside down. She quietly gathered her clothes and slipped out of the room. In her small apartment, she sat on her bed and cried. She had crossed a line that could never be uncrossed. She was just a maid. He was a billionaire. Last night had been a mistake, a beautiful, terrible mistake. Her phone rang. It was her sister, Maya, calling from their village. "Rose, you need to come home," Maya said, her voice shaking. "Mama is very sick. The doctors say. They say she might not have much time." Rose's world tilted. "What?" "But she was fine last week when I called. She didn't want to worry you. But Rose, she's been hiding how bad it is. Please come home. She's asking for you." Rose looked around her small apartment, then toward the main house where James was probably waking up. She couldn't face him. She couldn't pretend that last night hadn't happened. And her mother needed her. "I'm coming," she said. "I'll be there by tonight." Rose packed her few belongings and left a simple note for Mrs. Rose. "Family emergency. Had to go home. Thank you for everything." She didn't say goodbye to James. She couldn't. The bus ride to her village took 8 hours. Rose stared out the window at the changing landscape, from the city's tall buildings to small towns to the rural areas where she had grown up. With each mile, her guilt grew heavier. She had abandoned her job without explanation. She had slept with her boss. And now her mother was dying. When she reached her family's small house, Maya ran out to meet her. "Rose, thank God you're here. Mama's been waiting for you." Their mother, Sarah, was lying in the small bedroom, her face pale and thin. But she smiled when she saw Rose. "My beautiful girl," she whispered. "I'm so sorry to bring you home like this." Rose held her mother's weak hand. "Don't apologize, Mama. I'm here now. Everything will be okay." But everything was not okay. For the next 2 weeks, Rose watched her mother grow weaker. They spent their savings on doctors and medicine, but nothing helped. Sarah died on a quiet Tuesday morning, holding both her daughters' hands. At the funeral, Rose learned the truth that broke her heart all over again. "Your mother borrowed money from half the village," their neighbor, Mrs. Patel, said gently. "She was so proud she didn't want you girls to know. But Rose, the debts, they're substantial." What Mrs. Patel said next would trap Rose in the village forever and force her to make the hardest decision of her life. One by one, people came to Rose with papers and records. Her mother had borrowed money for Maya's college fees, for medicine, for house repairs. The total was more than Rose had earned in 2 years of working for James. "I'll pay everyone back," Rose promised, though she had no idea how. "Just give me time." But time was something she didn't have. Maya needed to return to college, the debts needed to be paid, and Rose was stuck in the village with no job and no money. She found work wherever she could, cleaning at the local hospital, helping in shops, doing laundry for neighbors. She worked from sunrise to sunset, but the money she earned barely covered their daily expenses. It was 6 weeks after her mother's funeral when Rose realized she was pregnant. She stared at the test in the tiny bathroom of their house, her hands shaking. There was no doubt she was going to have a baby. James's baby. But Rose had no idea that she wasn't just carrying one child, she was carrying 2. And this discovery would change everything she thought she knew about her future. For a moment, she thought about going back to the city, telling James the truth, but then she imagined his reaction. He would think she had planned it, that she was trying to trap him for his money. He would think she was just like Victoria, using him for what she could get. And even if he believed her, what then? He was a billionaire, and she was a poor village girl with nothing. He could take the baby away from her. He could pay her to disappear. He could destroy her life with a phone call. No, she would handle this alone, just like everything else. Maya noticed the changes first. "Rose, you look tired all the time. Are you eating enough?" "I'm fine," Rose lied, "just working hard." But as the months passed, it became impossible to hide. When Rose finally told Maya about the pregnancy, her younger sister was shocked. "Who is the father, Rose? Why haven't you told me about him?" He's not in our lives," Rose said. "It's just going to be me and the baby." "But Rose, you need support. You need help." "I can do this, Maya. I have to." Rose worked until the day she went into labor. The local doctor, Dr. Kumar, was kind but worried. "You're having twins, Rose," he said during her checkup. "2 healthy girls, but you need to take better care of yourself. You're too thin, too weak." Twins. Rose's heart raced with joy and terror. 2 babies to love, but also 2 babies to feed, clothe, and protect. Anna and Lucy were born on a rainy night in March. They were small but perfect, with dark hair like their father's and Rose's brown eyes. Rose held them and promised they would never know hunger or loneliness like she had. But promises are easier to make than keep. With 2 babies to care for, Rose couldn't work as much. The debts piled up. Maya had to drop out of college to help take care of the twins. They sold their mother's jewelry, their father's old tools, anything of value. Rose took the babies with her to work, carrying them in a cloth sling while she cleaned floors and washed clothes. People stared and whispered, but Rose held her head high. She was doing what she had to do for her daughters. It was on a hot summer day, when the twins were 10 months old, that everything fell apart. Rose had been working for 14 hours straight, cleaning at the hospital and then helping prepare food for a wedding. She hadn't eaten since morning, and she had given most of her own food to Anna and Lucy, who were still breastfeeding. Walking home through the busy city street where she was working that day, Rose felt dizzy. The world started spinning around her. She managed to sit down on the sidewalk, holding the twins close, before everything went black. Anna and Lucy's crying woke her up, but she couldn't find the strength to stand. People walked by, some stopping to stare, but no one helped. Rose lay on the dirty street, her babies crying beside her, feeling more hopeless than ever. That's when she heard the car door slam. The voice that called her name would either save her life or destroy the carefully built wall of lies she had created to protect her daughters. "Rose? Rose, is that you?" The voice was familiar, but Rose couldn't believe it. She looked up and saw him, James Mitchell, kneeling beside her on the street. He looked older, more tired, but still handsome in his expensive suit. "James," she whispered, wondering if she was dreaming. "What happened to you? Where have you been?" His grey eyes were full of concern. "I looked everywhere for you. You just disappeared." Rose tried to sit up, clutching the twins protectively. I had to come home. Family emergency." James noticed the babies for the first time. His face went pale. "Rose, whose children are these?" Rose's heart pounded. She looked into his eyes, the same grey eyes that Anna had inherited, and made a decision that would change everything. But as she opened her mouth to speak, she had no idea that her next words would either protect her daughters forever or set in motion a chain of events that would tear her family apart. "They're mine, Tutti," she said. "I got married after I left. My husband, he died in an accident. I'm raising them alone." The lie came easily, born from months of fear and desperation. She couldn't tell him the truth. Not here, not like this. Not when she was lying weak and hungry on a street with his children crying beside her. James's expression softened with sympathy. "Rose, I'm so sorry. Let me help you. Let me take you to the hospital." "No, I'm fine." "You're not fine." James was already picking up Anna, who stopped crying at his touch. "Come on, we're getting you help." At the hospital, Dr. Rahman examined Rose while James waited outside with the twins. Rose watched through the window as he awkwardly held Lucy, looking confused but gentle. "Malnutrition, emotion, and exhaustion," Dr. Rahman told James. "She's been giving all her food to the babies and working too hard. She needs rest and proper meals." James nodded seriously. "Whatever she needs. Money is no object." When Rose was feeling stronger, James sat beside her hospital bed. "Come back with me," he said. "You can work for me again. I'll provide housing for you and the children. They'll have everything they need." Rose looked at him, this man who had no idea he was offering to take care of his own daughters. "I can't accept charity, James. It's not charity, it's a job. I need you, Rose." His voice was quiet. "The house hasn't been the same since you left. Nothing has been the same." Rose saw something in his eyes that made her heart race. But then she looked at the twins sleeping in their hospital cots, and reality returned. She was a single mother with no money and no options, but she was also keeping the biggest secret of her life. "I need to think about it," she said. "Take all the time you need." "But Rose," James stood up and touched her hand gently. "I'm glad I found you. I've missed having you around." After he left, Rose stared at the ceiling and cried. She had loved him for one night, and that night had given her the most precious gifts of her life. But it had also created an impossible situation. How could she go back to working for him, seeing him every day, pretending her daughters weren't his. How could she keep such a huge secret when every day Anna's eyes looked more like his? But how could she refuse? Her daughters needed food, shelter, medical care. They needed a future. And despite everything, she still loved the man who had held her through one perfect, terrible night. Outside her hospital window, the city lights twinkled like stars. Somewhere out there, James was going back to his empty mansion, not knowing that his whole world had just changed. Not knowing that he was a father, not knowing that the woman who had shared his bed and his secrets was about to face the hardest decision of her life. But what Rose didn't know was that James had already begun to suspect the truth. And tomorrow, he would start asking questions that she wasn't prepared to answer. Rose closed her eyes and held her sleeping daughters close. Tomorrow, she would have to decide. Tomorrow, she would have to choose between her heart and her fears, between the truth and the lies that protected them all. But tonight, for just a few more hours, she could pretend that somehow everything might work out. The story was far from over. In fact, it was just beginning. And the biggest shock was yet to come. What happens next will shock you. James isn't the only one who's been keeping secrets. Rose is about to learn something about that night that will make her question everything she thought she knew about the father of her children. What do you think Rose should do? Tell James the truth or keep running with his children? And what secret could James be hiding that's even bigger than being a father? Part 2 drops soon. Don't miss the twist that changes everything.